Welcome back to the rest of the story. As the intro says, well, what do you guys think? I like my new intro, but would everybody be happier if I just didn't have one altogether? I don't know. I'm just kicking the idea around. I'm not saying I'm getting rid of the intro by any means, but if you guys are looking for a video where there's going to be a whole lot of action and stuff going on, no. So if you want to do something else in your computer, or if you're driving someplace, just set the phone down or whatever, and you can guys just listen to me talk. So it's been kind of interesting around here lately. We're gonna try to avoid a weather subject because all farmers can talk about the weather. Today is the night before the time change. So whenever this video comes out, be it Monday or Tuesday, I think I have Sunday's video coming out already, or that is uploaded. Yep. So this will probably be first of the week. I figured I'd just try and sit and talk about a little bit of everything and a whole lot of nothing. For those that really don't want to listen to what I have to say, that's perfectly fine. So today Ryan and I went and we took a little trip up to Bloomington Livestock. They had a cow sale today. Now, go to Ryan's channel, How Farms Work, and I don't know if he's got a video up on it yet. He's probably working on it right now, for that matter, but Ryan did buy some cows. I'm not going to talk about Ryan buying his cows too much, for the simple fact that that's Ryan's subject. It's really none of my place to talk about everything Ryan's doing. We do have to go pick up the rest tomorrow. So, going to the sales barn was a very risky for me. Not for Ryan, because, you know, he went up there with a reason, a purpose. Travis almost bought a load of cows. I did not go up to buy cows. I went up to help Ryan. I helped him, well, 2 sets of eyes are better than 1 set of eyes. We're watching the cows coming in and kind of kicking back and forth. They are his cows 100%, but I was, you know, being the older brother that I am, you know, giving my opinion on whether or not a group was worth bidding on, whether to let them go, between if he should buy the heifers or if he should buy some older cows. Not super older cows. I almost bought, what is it, 7 to 8 or 7 and up or 8 and up year old cows. Not broken mouth. Broken mouth is when their teeth are pretty well gone. I'm talking, there's 4 different tiers for buying, well, for grading bred cows. There is the first tier, which were blue tags. Those were first calf heifers. They've never had a calf before, but they were bred. Depending on, well, whatever the vet checked them at, we tried to stick to 3rd trimester, so they should be calving within 3 months. The second tier, which isn't really, actually I was encouraging him to like buy in that area too. They are what, 2 to 5 years old, or 2 to 8. I don't remember the exact numbers anymore. But it was like 2 to 8 years old, where they're not first calf heifers anymore, and they're starting to get more experience in having calves and, you know, taking care of the calves. 8 on up are your seasoned cows. They're still having calves by then. Their habits have been pretty much set as far as being able to raise calves and know how to take care of them. You're not as apt to have to worry about them quite so much, especially if, you know, they're good calvers. First calf heifers you got to worry about. That's what I was really telling Ryan about, and he understands that. When you're talking about first calf heifers, you don't know how stupid that cow is going to be. Start off, just after you get her bred, sometimes they can be a little bit of a headache getting them bred. If you're AIing them, if you have a bull out with them, the bull can pretty much, he'll worry about that. AIing them, there were a few lots that went through today that they were AI'd, which in itself is, well, actually that's really good as far as AIing them, especially in like a very limited time frame, so you know exactly when they're going to calve. The the thing with heifers is that you got to worry about them calving the first time, depending on like their hips and whether or not they can actually have the calf without having too much difficulty. Also with claiming the calf. So having the calf is part of the fight. The next fight is hoping that the cow claims the calf and doesn't go full stupid on you and walk away from it and abandon it, because then you're, as long as you catch it as the farmer, which you really should, you're raising a bottle calf. So we got a lot of experience doing that. Every seasoned cattle farmer, I'm sure, is bottle fed a calf at one point in their operation in their lives. So we really don't want to have to do that. I mean, because it's a commitment for, you know, a couple months. So, and then, oops, didn't hit my microphone, did I? You guys are going deaf, but largely I think we stuck with, we did buy one group of first calf heifers. The rest I think were the second lot. The third lot, I think I said the first, second, and the third lot is up to, I think it was 8 years and above, which are pretty well set in their ways. And then, gosh, I hope I'm saying this right. And above 8 years and above, it's broken mouth cows. And my understanding is, the most basic definition of it is, as far as broken mouth goes, it means that the cows' teeth are pretty well worn down. So as far as their feed intake, may be limited, so you might start seeing more of the bony frame. The cows aren't able to eat, feed, and utilize it as well as they really should, or be able to. And then what happens is that the cows aren't able to take in the amount of energy their body needs to keep up their body weight, and then you start getting a bony frame cow, and it's pretty much a downhill slide from there. But they are still able to produce a calf. I mean, it just depends on what they have available for feed. So, I don't know. We stayed away from the red tags. There was a really nice group of yellow tags, because the tiers are blue, green, yellow, red. So blue is the first calf heifers. The red are the broken mouth cows. There was a really nice looking lot of yellow tag cows. Only problem is that I think there was 9 in that lot, and then that Ryan did say that, which, you know, you can respect that he wanted to stay away from a lot of cows that he'll probably have to spin around and sell in a couple of years here, depending on how they take to the pasture and our feed and our operation. So, as far as Calvin, everybody, I didn't take any pictures of it. I know Ryan took a picture of it. Calvin was up with us. He was laying in front of me and being a really good boy. He's kind of sulking right now, because if you guys saw my Instagram from Saturday night, my Instagram, by the way, is the rest of the story Travis. I do post on there a little bit, and I will be more active on there once we get into spring and, you know, back into the more interesting stuff. I had to carry somebody backwards into the shower, and he got a bath, so he can't stay mad at me forever. He loves me. If everybody's wondering where Rocket got his name from, I mean, I'm trying to throw some random comments in here. People are asking me random questions. It's just sometimes easier to answer them in videos. Not so much that everybody sees the videos, but I need to start adding that in my videos too. If you guys want to keep up with my videos and get alerts when I start posting again, or whenever I post a video, you need to go down below and ring the bell next to the subscribe button. Make sure you ring the bell, so that way you will get alerts when I post my videos. I don't know what the deal is. I think something's going on with the system, where people that typically do watch my stuff, ever since I put my email on here, I'm getting a lot more emails from people that way contacting me, and a lot of people are asking me why I'm not posting so much, Well, I am actually posting more than I was in January, but the problem is that the system isn't alerting people that I've uploaded a video. So I'm probably gonna have to start adding that, or at least mentioning that from time to time, that yes, make sure you ring the bell if you want alerts as to when I'm posting videos. Mechanics wise, okay, before I get off subject there, where did Rocket get his name? Okay, there once was a time, and I still try to a little bit, whenever I name my dogs, like growing up, I tried to name my dogs referring to like astronomy or like to space. I grew up with a golden retriever. I got him in 2000. I named him Comet. He was an awesome dog. I absolutely loved him. Probably like the best dog I've ever had. And if you guys can see this, this is my senior picture. I took it with Comet, and he was a really curly dog. Hopefully you guys can see that. I don't know exactly where centered is. That was his name when I bought him, or when I got him when I was a kid. The people that we bought him from, his name was actually Curly. So I named him Comet Curly Kister. So we never called him Curly, but he was a really good dog. He was an awesome dog. Sorry, Calvin, but he was a really good, good friend. So when Comet had passed and we were ready to buy another dog, Rocket came along. Well, sticking with the astronomy and sticking with that same plan as far as naming them, like horoscopes, I think we used Leo too, which is also my horoscope sign is. Ryan actually decided Rocket. So, and then honestly, we kind of got away from it a little bit, and Calvin got the name from the comic strip, Calvin and Hobbes. And you guys might be a little bit crooked there. I know this is a very dull video for those of you that are still watching, but I'm trying to keep the videos interesting for everybody. So, yeah, Calvin got his name from the comic strip Calvin and Hobbes. That's a comic strip that Ryan and I read all the time. Actually, I read all the books, all the comic strips and everything. Went through and actually bought all the comic strips. Another one I actually read too was Big Honkin' Zits, just Z-I-T-S, with Jeremy. That was actually a pretty good comic too. So Calvin's getting accustomed to being an inside dog. He was an outside dog for the most part, kind of, but I want him to be an inside dog now, so he keeps me company. I'm home alone tonight. I'm actually home alone all weekend. Brittany isn't going to get home until Monday. She went snowmobiling with her family. I don't do the snowmobiling. I'm just not really big on it. I don't like being cold. I've said it before. Plus with my back issues, everybody tells me, I can't say everybody, my mom tells me, moms being moms, my mom is telling me that, I got to be careful with the four-wheeler and stuff like that, because they have family friends that were really wild when they were in high school and when they were young, as far as playing on the snowmobiles and the four-wheelers. And he's got back issues too, which my back issues aren't from running around and tearing around on the four-wheelers. I didn't buy my Honda to tear around on. It might get played with a little bit as far as doing some donuts and stuff, but my back issues are from milking cows. It's from milking cows in an old, outdated stanchion barn, and I'm 6'1". That barn was set up for short people. My grandma, she hardly came up to my chest. So my grandma didn't have any issues running into things. I always hit my head on everything. The cows were bred to not be quite as tall. Our genetics and our cows, they were about chest height with me. So when I went and have to put a milker on, the cows had a very nasty habit, because grandma was small enough that she didn't have any issues of getting between the cows. Well, when I started milking the cows kind of had it out for me, and they would lean on me. So when I would lean into the cow and put my shoulder down into her side, the cow would just instinctively try to lay on me. So then I was always using my back and pushing the cow over. 4 years of that, and it finally got to me. My back actually didn't go out until like right at the end. So I'm very grateful for that, because for how terrible my back was for the 6 months, 8 months that it was out, I don't know how long I would have been able to keep milking with that. I would have had to have back surgery. And the problem with doing back surgery is that it shut me down for 3 months. So I wouldn't recommend that for anybody. I mean, I was shut down over the winter. Like, it's March right now. And let's see who's trying to call me. I just scared some people. Whoops. Oh well. Yeah, guys, I'm sorry for just sitting and ranting, but I just feel kind of talkative tonight. I try not to do this stuff too often. Everybody wants me to do live streams more. The reason I don't do live streams as much is because I don't think everybody needs live streams from me every week. Once a month is pretty good. We start getting busier in the summer, and that's a broken record for me as far as saying that I'm just gonna, just when it's, things are busier, more fun around here, I'll probably do some more live streams. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm getting bored too. Injecting 3 trailer loads of cows around here, it's going to make things a little bit more exciting. But the only thing is they're not my cows. And now that we can get back to that topic, the reason the sales barn was so dangerous is for me, like I just said, I almost bought a load of cows. I got really close to pulling Ryan's bidding number away from him and throwing my arm up. I came to my senses because that would have been about 10 grand. I mean, don't get me wrong, I can do 10 grand. I'd have to move some assets around, but I could buy 10. It was, well, $10,000 of 9 cows. I could have done it, but I didn't do it. And the only reason I almost did it is because there were some beautiful red Angus cows. Anybody that's new to the channel probably isn't aware of it, and you're going to be hearing about it more going forward, probably as much as I've said it in the past. I really like red Angus cattle. I had a herd when I was 17 years old. My parents actually bought me 7 red Angus heifers, registereds. Really pretty, really awesome. I really miss them. I hate myself for letting them go. I sold them, I know, young and completely stupid. You know what? Anybody that's really wondering as far as what you should do as far as getting into farming, you really got to have a level head in your shoulders. You really need to look for a mentor, somebody that's really going to look out for you, somebody that's going to tell you you're an idiot, somebody that's going to tell you you need to cool it, somebody that you can know that'll kind of guide you. I had that with my dad. I had that with my grandpa. The only problem is Grandpa didn't want me to buy as many cows as I did. I mean, he really wasn't against me buying cows. But he only wanted me to buy, I think, I'm getting ahead of myself because this was after my actual cows. But my grandpa, when I first started getting into buying beef calves, Calvin's just getting comfortable. When I first bought my beef calves, Grandpa actually told me not to buy more than 20. I ended up buying 30, you know, terrible grandson. I actually made some really good money that year. I just backgrounded them. I bought some 500-pound feeders. Raised them for a few months. I had them for, how long did I have them? I backgrounded them. I put some good weight on them. I made, I think, about 10 grand on them. You know, it was a good way to get started. My problem is that I got young and stupid, and instead of keeping my bred cows, my cow herd, which I had up to 12 cows, I ended up selling them because I thought that I wanted to just buy feeders every year and then just raise feeders for X amount of months and go that route. Well, the problem is I was doing that on the beginning of the uphill climb in the cattle market, and then I got on the wrong side of the cattle crash and then, you know, paid for it. I really miss my red Angus cows. My plans are to get the red Angus herd up and running again. I do have my big whopping herd of 3 cows. I have a black Angus, I have a red cross, and then I have a red Angus. One of them is actually from my grandpa's herd. Well, when the estate sold my grandpa's cows and all other happy horse shit, yeah. The cow that I have is actually a 400-pound heifer, and my cattle buyer at the time, I mean, this was already past, no, it was my cattle buyer, Charlie Boyd up at Bloomington, by the way. I told him, it's like, hey, this heifer's coming through the lot on my grandpa's estate herd. This is how much I want to pay for her. Will you please keep an eye out for her? I don't have time to come up and try to buy her. And he ended up coming back and he bought her for stupid cheap. I mean, I set an amount how much I wanted to buy her for, and he ended up buying her for about 200 bucks less than I was planning on, and I was super happy. Don't get me wrong, I'm probably, well, the chances of me growing a cow herd with exclusively my grandpa's heifer, my cows, isn't going to happen, but I would like to keep some of my grandpa's herd around, and that's what I'm doing with her. I'm trying to keep heifers out of her and at least get even 5 to 10 out of her, just keep grandpa's herd going. I'm all for that, and that is really what I'm aiming for. So okay, it is, I've probably been talking for too long for those of you that are probably still watching. I have a whole lot in my mind and probably not enough time to talk about it, and honestly, when the videos get over like 15 minutes long, most of the casual viewers aren't watching. So for those of you that wanted to hear me talk about Grandma and Grandpa, I don't talk about my grandma a whole lot, and there's the reason why. My grandma was not a very talkative person. My grandma did not talk very much in general. She did talk, but she was very much put your nose to the grindstone and work. My grandma, I've said this before, I feel like I repeat stuff way too much on my channel, and I apologize, but I know I have new viewers that have never heard this stuff before. But my grandma is tougher than you. Not trying to be insulting, not calling anybody out. Let me explain. My grandma knew nothing but work. My grandma did a lot of the chores when she was at home. When she was a kid, my grandma did a lot of the milking. She did a lot of like the manure throwing and everything else, and that was when you had to do it by hand. My grandma just didn't, my grandma never had stop in her. She worked. And I'm going to tell a story that I've told before, but you know what? Damn it. It's worth being told. Me and Ryan, I believe, has told this story too. But my grandma had dementia, Alzheimer's. It is terrible. It is absolutely an aggravating disease to see somebody that you know and love deteriorate down into a toddler. I don't recommend anybody having to live through that, but that's really not your choice. I don't wish that on anybody. So okay, we all knew that, and we had a year where we had a bunch of extra straw that we were going to make. So what we did is, down at my place, we had three loads of small square straw bales to dump in the shed down here. This barn does not really get used for anything at all, and we had rain coming. So the plan was, it was me, Ryan, and my grandma. Excuse me. So the plan was, we could look around the barn here, looking to the west, and you could see the rain coming. So we set the elevator up really quick. We pulled the first load of straw up to the barn, up to the elevator, and we told Grandma, because she was right there watching us, it's like, Grandma, we're going to start chucking bales on this as hard as we can, and we did, by the way. And can you just make sure that when we're throwing them on the elevator, can you just make sure that they're level and they're straight so they won't fall off? And once Ryan and I got going, Grandma was standing there and she was moving the bales for us and everything else like that. Great. Well, the thing is, we got about halfway done with that wagon, and Ryan and I were chucking right along. We looked up, and I don't know if it was Ryan or myself, noticed that Grandma wasn't around. Grandma disappeared. Okay, well, we're not stupid, and we know my grandma, so we knew exactly where she went. We shut everything down, ran up into the barn, and there was a stack of straw bales, small squares, about 20 feet high. And sure enough, there was my grandma pulling bales out, and she had all the bales stacked up into the corner of the barn, and she already had the first layer started. It was, I don't know, it was probably about 30 by 40 feet. I mean, when you start the first layer of any small square bales in a building, you throw them up on their sides so the twines are off the ground. So the twines are like this on their sides, so so the mice doesn't really get at them quite so quick. And she had this whole level pretty well filled out, and she had them stacked in tight all by herself, and she was completely unfazed by the fact that those bales were raining down on her. And it took a little convincing to get her back out of the barn, but that is just, it's something that you couldn't get out of my grandma. You could tell her no, but it's just ingrained in her head that you stack the bales as you're going. So that's exactly what my grandma was trying to do. So I had that a lot with my grandma. We all had that a lot with my grandma. She was a hell of a worker. She didn't know stop. She only knew go. And I don't know. One of my better memories, and I got memories about my grandma, don't get me wrong, but she was very adamant that everybody has to eat lunch. Grandpa was too, don't get me wrong. Grandpa was a 12 o'clock lunch person, dinner. But there's many times when I was raking as a kid, going across the field with a New Holland 256 rake at lunchtime and seeing nothing but a cloud of dust coming from the field road of my grandma bringing me lunch. And damn it, don't you ever keep going when you saw grandma coming, because grandma would drive across the field, chiseled no matter what, to get to you, because you are going to be fed. Just like a lot of people can say about their grandparents, they're about their grandmas. You know, you could be 100 pounds soaking wet. You go to grandma's, well, you just gain 2 man boobs and a beer gut, but you've definitely eaten. You've eaten very well. And that was a very big thing, like going to my grandparents' place. Grandma always had some Twix, like in her house. Like Twix was a very big one. Cheetos. Grandpa always had a little Tupperware of Cheetos, and the grandkids, we would always maul those Cheetos. I mean, our grandparents took very good care of us. They definitely loved us. As much as my cousins and the rest of my family hate each other, they definitely did love their grandkids. Probably more than what they realize. And it's really sad and really stupid that things went down the way they did. So, grandma, I always really remember, I mean, because, come on, I grew up around my grandma a lot. She watched me a lot when I was younger, especially when you're 5 and up, when you spend a lot of time riding around with dad in the tractor. And maybe some people are getting away from that, taking their kids with them in the tractor because, you know, accidents happen. But a lot of the times, like when I was helping dad hauling hay or hauling silage, and you'd start to get tired, and by the end of the day, it was really common to go hang out with grandma. They'd go in the house. She always was, grandma's specialty was making cinnamon rolls. My dad absolutely loved grandma's cinnamon rolls. That was a very big thing I remember growing up. His grandma would always send home a plate of cinnamon rolls, frosted. Well, he's just burping. I always remember grandma making a plate of cinnamon rolls and send them home with dad. And that's, dad actually would used to eat those for breakfast. Put them in the microwave, warm them up, and you're ready to rock and roll for the rest of the day. Another big thing, like I'm just trying to talk about grandma here. She had a milk cart, which was naturally, you needed the milk cart for milking the cows and everything else like that. Well, there was a little box on it for random stuff, radio, like towels and stuff like that. But grandma was always really good at having some candy in there. Not necessarily just for her grandkids. My grandma was very well known for eating like those little mini Twix, or she actually would carry like an apple with her and stuff like that. And being the grandkids as we are, it was very common, and we all know that she used to do it. She'd like have a bag of M&Ms or those little treats in the cart, and she would always, if we'd stay there and help her do whatever she's doing or scrape the barn, whatever else, she'd always, you know, she knew you were picking at them, but they were there for, weren't just for her. I mean, Grandma knew what she was doing. A really funny one. My grandma had her barn cats. Nobody messed with my grandma's barn cats. They were all spoiled. They all knew Grandma. When Grandma ever walked across the barnyard, like, or the lot, going from the calf hutches or the hog house back to the barn, it was very common to see 8 to 12 cats following my grandma in a line. My grandma spoiled her cats. Milk every day, morning and night, and getting back to those M&Ms. My sister said that she used to watch Grandma. Like, if you watched Grandma at the end of the barn while she's milking, it was very common for her to have, you know, 4 or 5 cats around the milk cart. And it was really funny. If you watch her just randomly, I mean, it was nothing you could really plan on. But it was really common every once in a while where she'd be eating some M&Ms, or she'll casually grab one or two, and you'd see it. She'd see one of the cats down by her, and she'll take an M&M and she'll drop a M&M down for the cat to eat. Never really seemed to affect them. Of course, barn cats are probably some of the toughest cats that you never come across, and it was very true. Those cats. A lot of those cats were probably older than us. The genetics were there for years and years and years, and they all went away when the dairy shut down. My sister had a cat, and Grandpa told this story all the way up to the day he died. I think he was Big Blue, because it was an orange cat with big blue eyes. And Grandpa said that this was when my sister was really young. She was at the farm. Grandma and Grandpa were watching her. And it was around lunchtime, and it was freezing cold out. It was, well, kind of like it's been the last month or two. Snowing, blowing, and Alicia said she was going to go out because she had her coat on. Grandpa said, "Where are you going?" She's like, "I'm going to go call Blue." And Grandpa's, "Oh, no, he's not going to come out in this cold. He's going to stay in the barn where he's warm." Well, Alicia's like, "Well, I'm going to call him, because he'll come to me." Well, okay. So she got out through the screen door and out the door, and she stood in the little walkway right in front of the greenhouse, which we don't. I do have a bunch of farm pictures. I really should try to show you guys of like the greenhouse and the house that was there before the house that is currently at Rockville. And she stood in that little entryway, and she called out for this cat. And Grandpa said, "Sure enough." He's like, you could see the cat jumped out of the hay mow, by the big open door. There was a crack there. He said, sure enough, this big orange cat came running out of the hay mow, down through the snow. I mean, we had drifts and everything by then. And he said, and over to Alicia, just a purring away. And he said, she looked up to me holding that cat so proud and said, "See, Papa?" Just so proud that cat would come to her, and he's got a hell of a laugh out of that. So that's one of the things that we really miss about Grandpa. The stories. I'll be really blessed if I could say as many stories as my grandparents used to say, my grandpa used to say when I'm his age. His mind was sharp as a tack all the way up until the day he died. He died of a heart attack. But some of the stuff that he could bring up, I mean, he brought up stuff from like the 30s and the 40s like it was nothing, and consistently. I mean, that was one thing we kind of were wary of, especially on days we were really busy. It was really common to go in the house at noon and not get out till 2:30, just because you'd be done eating by 12:30, and Grandpa would start talking about different parts of his life, about guys that used to help him, and different parts of the farms and different things he's changed and different people he's known and people he's worked with, different jobs he's done. He worked in a factory for 2 years when he first started farming, and what was it? There were layoffs, and he actually gave up. He decided to go back to the farm full time because there was guys in town that were scrambling. They had families, and Grandpa said that at least he had the farm he could go back to, so he said he actually opted out of staying, and he went back to the farm so some of these other town workers, at least somebody else, at least one person from town could at least keep his job. So, and then Grandpa pretty much worked on the farm. I don't remember what year he really went back to the farm full time, but the place I'm on is the first place that he bought. This is the first place I started milking on. Everybody wants me to do a tour of the barn down here. I'm probably going to break down and do one of these days. Give me a break. It'll probably be when it's a little bit nicer out, because right now it's all snowed in. It won't be anything special. I know you guys are probably looking and hoping that, oh, we'll do a video about everything that's in there. There's not anything in there anymore because it's been stripped out. I raised bottle calves in it, and I ended up stripping it out again because the bottle calf things just didn't work in that barn because the air ventilation was poor. But at some point in time, I will do a video about that. So just stay tuned. So I do have more stuff about my grandparents. Honestly, I wasn't planning on talking about them tonight. Your best bet as far as me talking about Grandma and Grandpa is probably going to be when I'm in the field and I'm working. Because one of the best things, at least for me, for triggering old memories and remembering my grandparents and the olden days and different times are when I'm in the tractor, I got the radio off, and I'm just listening to the engine run. That brings back more memories to me than trying to sit here and pinpoint one or two. So, I mean, I think everybody knows of the video I talked about pulling Grandpa out with the 4230. He got his wonderful 4230 stuck, and I just bought the 7600. It's been sitting in the shed for a few weeks, and it hasn't even been out of the shed since then, up to that point. And we had a bunch of snow, and Grandpa went to that field behind the grain bin, and he got stuck. And Grandpa and I had a very unique relationship because we had no problem making crap out of each other about our tractors. My grandpa, his baby, you know, literally my grandpa's baby was his 4230. It was a 4230 with a synchro. The tractor had seen the dial go over it at least 3 times on it. That tractor has seen a lot. I mean, if that tractor could talk, I mean, that tractor had stories. And that was Grandpa's tractor. That's what he raked with. That's what he hauled manure with. That's what he used to chop with. That's what he used to disc with in the spring. He had his 215 Deere. I think that's what he pulled it with. It might have been a disc before that. But that's what Grandpa, that 4230 is what he used to pull that disc with in the spring. He used it for hauling grain in the fall. The 4230 was my grandpa's 70, was to my grandpa, if you guys are still watching, the 4230 to my grandpa was the 7600 to me. It is my go-to tractor. That's the tractor that does everything that I can hook it up to and use it for. And that's what my grandpa used it for. And Grandpa and I had a grudge war because Grandpa and I would always make fun of each other about his 4230 and how up to when I got my 7600, the 7400 was my go-to. I still like that tractor, don't get me wrong. Him and I would always go back and forth about how the 7400 could always outpull his 42, or if he ever gets stuck with his 42, I'll make sure I go and get the 74 and pull him out, but I won't need the front wheel assist because it's just the 42. And him and I would always go back and forth with each other. And don't get me wrong, he's gotten me before. I actually got the 2955 stuck in mud. I mean, it's sunk in a soft spot. And he went and brought the 4230 out and pulled me out. And don't get me wrong, I heard about that for a while after that. But Grandpa and I, we were really good at going back and forth at each other. It was in his nature. You had to know how to talk to my grandpa. He could be an ornery old one. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, everybody from that generation, at least as far as my grandpa goes, you guys hear me talk fondly about him. Grandpa was really good at being old, ornery, and stubborn. I mean, I don't want to take away from that fact, but I do have a lot of memories of him, and I have a lot of good memories about Grandpa. I do have some, you know, that are what they are, but overall, you know, I can think about a lot of the good times. Well, pretty much all the good times. So everybody says I'm going to look like my grandpa. Somebody noticed. If you look at me straight on, especially when I had my hair cut short, especially where my hairline's receding, I look like my Grandpa Keen. My brother, he got the Kister genes. He takes more after my dad and my Grandpa Kister. Without a doubt, I look like my Grandpa Keen. I'm gonna look like Grandpa Keen. I'm gonna be bald. I'm already ornery. I'm already got some of those traits that Grandpa had that he's known for. And to be honest with you, anybody that has a problem with that can go and deal with it, because it really doesn't bother me at all. I'm 30 years old. It doesn't really bother me if people say that I'm like my Grandpa Keen. It doesn't bother me one bit. I miss my grandma. I really miss my grandma. She got dementia when I was in high school, and it was one of those things that she got it, and no one really thought about it that much, and it just seemed like it was a light switch, and she just wasn't grandma anymore. She wasn't what she was from what I remember growing up. So she was stubborn. She was a hell of a worker. She was tough. The doctor gave her 5 years, that she'd be dead in 5 years, and she lived 8 years after the doctor told her 5. So she's a very tough old woman. She wasn't very big, but not a mean bone in her body. At all. I mean, the only one time that I can remember her saying anything stern, not even mean, just stern. She was well into the Alzheimer's, but it wasn't anything like big. It was just she was going to feed the bottle calves. I mean, because she wasn't so far gone as far as it hadn't affected her so much that she wasn't able to like understand, like do chores and all that stuff on her own. And Grandpa just told her to move the buckets, because we were using raw milk, to use the buckets out of the first couple, because I just set them in there. And she's like, without even missing a beat, she says, "I know that already." And that's the definition of my grandma raising her voice. It really threw us off. I mean, I think it was me and my dad and Grandpa were staying in the milk house when she said that. And I think all three of us were on the floor, just completely taken aback by that, because my grandma was one of the kindest, sweetest, most soft-spoken person you've ever known. And that is the only time I can ever remember her. She didn't even really raise her voice, but as far as just, I know, and it's just like, where'd that come from? And yeah, that was the only time. So I'm rambling. Chances are 99% of my viewers aren't even watching, but I just kind of felt like doing this video. I've been wanting to just talk and ramble. People don't like when I ramble and bamble, and I don't care. It's my channel. I can do whatever I want. But I do have a lot of dedicated viewers that have been here for a long time that like to hear about life and growing up. And yeah, so I'm probably going to do another one of these down the road again, because like I said, I got a lot in here that I'd like to talk about that I just don't talk about. And I've been wanting to do a video like this for the last at least month, so I feel better. So yeah, well, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging along and listening to what I have to say, for those of you that even cared to listen. You're watching the rest of the story. Take care, take it easy, keep in touch, stay warm. We're not out of the woods yet. And yeah, I'm getting to go see my grandparents. So, which luckily enough for me, both my grandparents are actually, I can actually see the cemetery from my house where they're at. So, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
And now you know the rest of the story.